Hello everyone, so this is going to be our last video and lesson for our first unit for these couple weeks at home, and this is going to be on area of composite figures. So if you've watched any of the other three videos, we've done parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids, so you can see those formulas here. But for composite figures, basically what you're doing is you're taking a shape that is basically made up of other shapes, so we're going to have to cut this shape into pieces. And then we're going to find the area of each piece and then add the areas of the pieces to get the total area of the figure. So there's more than one way sometimes that you can even break up these shapes. So for instance, in this first composite figure, it'd be really easy to turn this just into two rectangles. Now the thing that we have to decide is we have to get the dimensions of each rectangle that we're finding the area of. So for this, we know that the base is 3. We need to figure out what this piece right here would have to be. Alright, we know this whole distance from this point to this point is 5, so if this one's 3, the 3 plus this one here would have to be the same as 5, so that would be 2. So this one is 3, this one is 2. For the width of this rectangle, or the height, we know that the complete distance is 8. And we know this piece is 4, so that would mean this other piece would have to be 4. So, for me to get the area of this first piece, let's call this piece A, and we'll call this piece B. Alright? So piece A, we're going to find the area of that piece, which is just base times height, which we have is 3 times 4, okay? Base times height. And that would just give us an area of 12 centimeters squared. So I'm going to put a 12 in here. So this one is 12 centimeters squared. Now let's do shape B. Alright, so for shape B we have 4 and we have 5 meets at a right angle, so that's our base and height. So to get the area of part B, I could just multiply 5 and 4 to get an area of 20 centimeters squared. So now for me to just get the total area of the complete composite figure, I need to take the two areas that I calculated and just add them together. So the area from part A and the area from part B, so 12 and 20 together, the total area would be 32 centimeters squared. Alright. So now let's go to a second one here. Okay, so here we have a second figure. So you can see we have a rectangle and a triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cut the triangle off here. Alright. So we need to figure out what the base and the height of this triangle is to be able to figure out the area of this. So we know that the distance from here to here in total is 12, okay? And we know that this piece on top, just from here to here, is 7. I know that 7 plus this distance here, which I'll just call x because we don't know it, have to be the same as 12. So 7 plus whatever this distance is has to be 12, so that means this part, the base of just the triangle, is 5. Now, for us to figure out the height, we know that this whole distance here is 5. We know that this piece from here to here is 3. So this part of the triangle, the height of the triangle, because it meets at a right angle, has to be a number that if you put it together with 3 would have to equal 5. So that means this piece of the triangle has to be 2. So now we have our dimensions for our triangle, which are 2 and 5, and then we still have the dimensions for the rectangle. So I'm going to call this shape A, and we'll call this shape B. So we're going to find the area of each of these pieces. So let's do shape A first, which is pretty simple because it's just a rectangle. So we're just going to use the parallelogram formula, right? So area is the base, which is 7, times the height. The base and the height meet at a right angle, so I'm going to multiply 7 and 5, and I'm going to get an area of 35 inches squared. Okay, I'm going to put that number in here, so we know this piece is 35 inches squared. Now I'm going to find the area of shape B, so this was shape A. Okay, this is shape B right here, which is the triangle, so I'm going to put the triangle formula. Which is 1/2 base times height. Okay, so now when I look at the triangle here, I have 0.5 times a base of 5 and a height, which meets the base at a right angle, of 2. So my area for the triangle will be 1/2 times 5 times 2, which would be 5 inches squared. So now all I need to do to get the composite area is add those two shapes together. Okay, so shape A we said was 35. And then shape B gave us an area of 5. So for our total area, we need to add 35 and 5 together, which gives us an area of 40 inches squared for the entire figure. Okay, here's a third one here. So again, just looking for a place for us to cut this up. I think the easiest way for us to cut this up here would be to put a line right through here. So what we could do is we could find the area of this triangle and then find the area of this rectangle underneath. So I'm going to label the rectangle with a capital A, I'll label the triangle with a B. So let's find the area of shape A. So since shape A is just the rectangle that we see here, okay, area equals base times height. So the base and the height of the rectangle meet at a right angle, so we have a base of 4. And then we have a height of, a base of 5 and a height of 4. So 5 multiplied by 4, that would give us an area of 20 centimeters squared. Okay. So now for me to do shape B, I have the triangle here. Okay. Now the base of this triangle that I drew is actually the exact same size as the base here at the bottom of the rectangle, so we can label that the base here is a 5. The thing that we need to figure out is what is this height of just this triangle here. Alright, so now when we consider that from the bottom here all the way to the top point of the triangle it's 7, and we know that this piece that goes from the beginning of the rectangle we made to the top of the rectangle we made is 4, that means this piece has to be the missing part plus 4, that would get us to a total of 7, which means our height has to be 3. Alright, so now let's find the area of that triangle. So we have area is 1/2 base times height. So in this case that would be 1/2 5 times 3, so 1/2 times 5 times 3, which would be 7.5 centimeters squared. Alright, so now all we need to do is we need to add the two areas up for part A and for part B. So we get 20 and 7 5/10. We'll add those two areas together, and that would give us a total area of 27 5/10 centimeters squared. Okay, here's our next composite figure here. This one's actually a little bit different because we have actually 3 different shapes here. So we have a rectangle, and then we have 2 triangles. Now the tricky thing about this is that the total distance for the rectangle is actually 2 parts here. We have this 8 right here, and then we have to add this 3 to it. So the actual length of the base of the rectangle should be 11, and then the height should be 4. So since we did that part first, okay, I'm going to do that first. So we're going to do the rectangle here. Alright, so I'm going to do area is base times height. Alright, so the area of the rectangle would be 8 and 3 is 11, 11 times 4. Okay, so that would be an area of 44 feet squared. Okay, so I'm going to label that inside here. Okay, so now let's do the 2 triangles. Now the 2 triangles look similar, but they're actually a little bit different from each other. So I'm going to do this smaller triangle first. Okay, so again, my area formula, area is 1/2 base times height. So let's fill in this formula. So we can see that the base and the height meet at this right angle here, so we're doing this top triangle. So we see that the base is 3, and the height is 2. So the area of this triangle would be 1/2 times 3 times 2. So 1/2 times 3 times 2. If you multiply that out, would just be 3 feet squared. So I'm going to put a 3 right there. 3 feet squared. So I have the area of 2 of the pieces. Now I need to do this third one here. So again, I'm going to start with the formula. Area is 1/2 base times height. And now let's fill in what we know here. So if we look at this triangle, the base and the height meet at this right angle right here. So we have a base of 3 and a height of 3. So area is 1/2 3 times 3. So if we multiply that through, 1/2 times 3 would give us 4.5 feet squared. So I'm going to label this one as 4.5 feet squared. So now all we need to do is we need to add together all 3 of these area amounts. So we have 44, we have 3, and we have 4.5. So let's add all 3 of those together. And that will give us the total area for the composite figure. So we should have 51 5/10 feet squared. Alright, so now what I want you guys to do is you're going to hit pause here, and you're going to try some of these on your own. So you're going to figure out how can you break up these shapes here, alright, and then get the area of the 2 different pieces, okay? So if you have any questions, I want you to give it a try, and if you get stuck, you can unpause it and then see how we solved it together, alright? So go ahead and pause it now and try to solve this one on your own. I'll give you one hint: you should be breaking it up into 2 pieces. Alright, so if you are confused at all, what I would do is I would have broken it up right here. So now we have one large triangle here that we can find the area of, and then we have one small rectangle here that we can find the area of. So let's do the rectangle first. Alright, again, rectangles are parallelograms, so I'm going to use the parallelogram formula. So the base and the height of the parallelogram, or the rectangle here, is 3 times 6. Okay? So that should give us an area of 18 feet squared. So I'm going to put a little 18 in here so I know what that piece is. Now what I have here is I have the triangle. So I have my right angle for my triangle right here, so I know my base of my triangle. And the thing is, I need to figure out what my height is. So I know that this piece right here is 6, but then I need to add whatever this piece is, that dotted line, to the 6 that I already have to get the total height of the triangle. So when I put those 2 6's together, that should give me a total height of 12 for the triangle, because we're putting the 6 and this 6 together. So let's start with our area formula for our triangle: 1/2 base times height. So in this case, it's 1/2 times a base of 15 and a height of 12. So now when you multiply that through, and again, it doesn't matter what order you multiply, whatever order you multiply these 2 numbers, you're still going to get the same answer, so you can use the commutative property. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 12, which is 6, and then 6 times 15, which is 90. And that would give me 90 feet squared. So I need to take the 2 amounts that I came up with and add those 2 together to get your total area. So 90 plus 18 gives me a total of 108 feet squared. Alright, here's the next one. I'm going to ask you guys to hit pause and find the area of the pieces and put them together. Alright, so hit pause and do that right now. Okay, so for this one, I think easy enough. I would just break this shape right up here. So we have a bottom rectangle, then we have a top rectangle here. So for this bottom one here, okay, I'm going to put area as base times height, because rectangles are parallelograms, and I'm going to do 34 times the height, which is 8. Okay. have a total area for the bottom part of 272 feet squared. All right, so I'm going to put that in here just as a reminder for myself. 242 feet squared. So now we need to come up with the area for the top one, and I'm going to look here. So here's a right angle where my height and base can meet. So for this top part here, we can do a base of 20 times a height of 12. So that would give me an area of 240 feet squared. So I'm going to put that in here. Alright, so now what I have to do is I have to add those two areas together, my 240 and my 272. We'll add those two areas together, so we get 2 and a 5 here, so 512 feet squared. This will be our last one, okay? So if you guys see here, we have a triangle on top of a trapezoid. So here's our right angle for our triangle, so we can identify our base and our height. And then we have our trapezoid. So what I want you guys to do is give this one a try. Try to find the area of the trapezoid and the area of the so you can hit pause and give this a try. Okay, so let's do the triangle first. Remember, the triangle formula is 1/2 base times height. So for this, I would do 1/2 times the base of 3 times the height of 4. All right, and that would give me an area of 6 meters squared for this triangle. Okay, so now let's do the trapezoid part. So the trapezoid is this whole shape down here. If I wanted to label it with the letters, I could say A, B, C, D. All right, so I'm going to find the area for that. Now remember, the area formula for a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. So remember, the bases are always parallel to each other, okay? So base 1, I'm going to highlight here. It's right here. Base 2 is right here. And then we have the height between them. Alright, so in this one, we're going to say area is 1/2 times the height, which is 2, times base 1 plus base 2. Well, they're telling us that the distance of base 1 is 10. So from A to D is this value of 10. And then for B to C, it's 6. So that would be 16. So 1/2 times 2 times 16 would be 16. And we have meters squared. So we have 6, we have a 16 meters squared. So when we add those two together, that gives us a total of 22 meters squared. Alright, you guys, so this is our last video in this first home unit for this first couple weeks dealing with learning from home on Canvas. I hope you guys were able to use this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Again, stay healthy and stay safe. If you do have any questions, you can always email me on Canvas. And just let me know if you're having any issues. I will be checking my email periodically during the day, so don't be afraid to ask questions. But other than that, I want you guys to be healthy, stay safe, and have a good rest of your day. Alright? See you soon.